I'm Noel, I'm a psychotherapist. Welcome to my video blog today, which is today about postpartum or postnatal depression. It's a form of depression, part of the sort of depression spectrum of illnesses, part of sort of major depression, which can affect about 10% of women after birth. And if you're one of those women, it's a really difficult thing to struggle with. I should say that sort of in the first couple of weeks, you may well have a dip after birth. Either or parent, if there are two, may well have a dip in the first couple of weeks. The baby blues can affect everybody and anybody. Generally, that lifts after a couple of weeks. So what we're talking about is if that continues beyond that. And it's one of the first signs that you have there may be a problem. There isn't a specific set of reasons why it happens. So it's really about being aware of what it looks like if you're getting involved in that and how to get help. As with any of these issues, the sooner you get help, the better. So what sort of things do you need to look out for? Well, the first thing is that your baby blues go beyond 2 weeks. That's the first sign. Also, I guess if you're feeling more sadness and guilt rather than tiredness and fed up, you might feel a bit fed up after you give birth and think, oh my God, what have I done? That should go relatively quickly. It's fairly normal to think, to be sort of daunted by the enormity of the task and to just be generally exhausted by the whole thing of having carried the child and then given birth. It's a sort of major event. But if you start to step into genuine sadness and guilt and feelings of failure as a person, as a mum, etc., then there may well be some issues going on that you need to get help with. Again, just notice if you lose interest in things that you used to bring you excitement and joy, for example. They can be very simple things like going out for a walk in the local park. I guess tiredness and wanting to stay in bed is pretty normal at that time, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond just wanting to stay in bed. It goes into sort of not thinking anything is worth doing. If you're starting to have those types of thoughts and feelings, begin to talk to people, get some help with that. And if you're finding that you're stuck, you're frozen in decision making, the sort of cognitive distortions like that are very common in depression, that you're just too tired, just too fed up, you can't see the point in making any decisions. Again, that's a sort of classic sign that there may well be some issues going on, as well as other things such as feeling trapped, low mood. You may develop panic attacks, feelings of inadequacy, and a sort of another biggie is beginning to isolate. If you find yourself isolating from contact with people because of the guilt and shame about what you're feeling, essentially, that's a big sign that there may well be problems. So what sort of help is there? Well, there's plenty of help around, and that's the good news here, because we know a lot about depression and its treatment. So specific treatments for postpartum depression involve looking at possibly medication, antidepressants such as SSRIs or serotonin-based medication, as well as cognitive behavioural therapy has been shown to be very effective for moderate forms of postnatal depression. So there is help for it. As with all these things, the sooner you get help, the better. You want to discover things in what we call the acute phase, get help during the acute phase and stop it becoming really complicated and difficult to treat. So the sooner you get help. In general, the sorts of things that you can do, and I'm going to make a couple of suggestions here that you may think are a bit ridiculous if you're a new parent, but one thing is to look at your sleep. I know that sounds a bit silly, that you think, how on earth can you get some sleep when you're a new parent? But it's really, really crucial that you do. There's a saying, isn't there, that it takes a village to raise a child, and I think much of what the village does is just take over child minding so you can get to bed. So try and get some sleep, try and organise it. It may be very difficult if you're parenting on your own, but I would step into some of the sort of parenting groups that exist, and they're great. You know, the National Childbirth Trust here in the UK and other organisations in the US and around the world form sort of support networks. So even if you're relatively isolated in your context, you can step into these groups and find people that will help you, and you mutually support each other. So it's a really, really crucial thing to look at is your network. Staying fit helps. Again, in general, that's a sort of good advice around sort of reducing the risk of depression and reducing the amount of time you spend feeling depressed. Stay connected. So talk to people about what's going on. Don't bottle it up inside. In terms of the decision making and the cognitive difficulties that you will find with depression, writing stuff down and making lists is a very, very simple and extremely helpful way of getting things done. And the more you can achieve small tasks on a daily basis, the better your esteem about yourself is. You don't have a pile of stuff in front of you that feels completely overwhelming. You can sort of manage your tasks bit by bit. I hope that's useful to think about. Please do leave me some comments. There's a lot more information about what to do, signs and symptoms and treatments on the actual website. So do go to my website and check out underneath this video blog. So it's noelmcdermott.net, and just go to the blog section, you'll find it. There's a lot more written information there. If you want further information, do get in touch with me. info@noelmcdermott.net is the email, or phone me 07 506 319 745. That's 07 506 319 745. The headline here is it is eminently treatable. Don't go down the rabbit hole with that depression, which is what people tend to do. Challenge that. Come and ask for help, and there is help available. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again another time. Bye bye.